What is this course? We will explain what is this course. This course will cover the basics on cloud concepts. It is the title of this course is Azure Architecture or Azure Fundamentals. But let me tell you something that all these fundamentals go along with other cloud services, with Amazon or with Google or with any other cloud services provider. So these basics are in common between majorly in common between all the cloud service providers. So you will be understanding what is cloud services, how do we use cloud services, what are the main services, what is the concept behind the cloud services, why are we switching to cloud services. Also will be uh, explaining a lot of and seeing a lot of demonstration within Azure uh, environment, because this is the main topic we have. But keep in mind that these basics or foundational knowledge are in common between Azure and any other service provider. This course is for everyone, even without the background of IT, even if he's not or she's not going to work in IT services or in this field, even if they are working in sales, even they are working in any field related to any uh, cloud related target. So this course is not for ITs, it's not for designed for the people who are going to be working as administrators. No, it's for everyone, because the whole world is switching to cloud services. So as personals, we should know what is cloud services and why the world is switching to that. So an IT background is not recommended. Here it is written is recommended, but from my side of view, I see that it can be handled if you are even not with an IT background. I will support you with the related or the needed basics for understanding what is in that course and what is the aim of this course and what is the target of this course. The course is aligned with an exam or certification from Microsoft, which is called Azure Fundamentals or AZ 900. So after finishing this course, we can have a bit of readings. I will send you some articles to read, some resources, and after that, you can start applying to the course or to the exam, which is numbered AZ 900. So be relaxed. Don't worry about anything, because you will get all the information that you need. Okay. This is the schedule of today. Maybe it will have some ups or downs, maybe some additional minutes here or some additional minutes there. And maybe if we are in a hurry or not in a hurry, if we work fastly, of course, with understanding everything, we might finish before the time. So in the early morning, we'll start with one module. It will be taking us from 8 to 9, but now it will be switching a bit. Then we'll have a break for 15 minutes. After that, we'll go with the Azure architecture and services. We'll be seeing how Azure is built, what are the main services in Azure, how do we use them. Then we'll have a lunch break from 11 till 12. After that, we'll go with the management and government, how or governance, how do we manage our environments, how do we govern that by using the allowed tools or services that makes me able to manage the environment that I have. What is in that environment? We'll see what is in that environment. How do I govern that? By what? How to allow or disallow this or that service or person? We'll be seeing that on this lesson. And in the afternoon, after we finish all the modules, we will be having the labs. During the labs, you will be working together, and I prefer that every one of you or every group of you try to finish their labs alone without my support. But if things get so messy and you don't have the ability to finish the lab, of course, I'm here to finish to help you with that. Why do I say that? Because I want you to face problems and overcome it. Because when you face a problem and you overcome this problem, it will be stuck on your mind. How did you solve that? And you will get the better experience that you want. So, as I told you, after you finish this course, all you need to do is to go to the resources, read again what I have explained, do some practice exams, do some more demonstrations. You find that all that you can find on Microsoft Learn. I will send you the resources and show you how to do that in order to claim the exam or the certification. You need to, after you finish this course again, you need to have some readings on Microsoft Learn, perform some demonstrations, and go ahead and do some practice tests, and you will get the certification very easily. So I will send you all these resources after we are done with them. And you have your certifications. Of course, you can have the uh, ability or the right to celebrate what you get, because when you celebrate it and you show it maybe on your profile on LinkedIn or anywhere, this will push you forward to get more and more certifications related to that. Okay, so when you become a Microsoft certified, we have a long line of certifications. Here is the place, or here is the course that you will decide where you are going to. Maybe you're going to be an administrator, maybe you're going to work with development, maybe you're going to work with other fields, but AZ900 is the basic that everyone who needs or who wants or aims to work with cloud services, this course is a must in order to see the world of uh, cloud services and decide where he is going. In this course, as you can see, these are the study areas of the certification. We have the cloud concepts. We'll see what are the cloud concepts, how is the world of cloud services working, what is the architecture of Azure and how is it built, and we'll describe also the management and governance. Here, as you can see, we have the percentage. What is the percentage? Here, when we're talking about the exam, when you go to the exam, maybe you will be facing, I don't know, 50, 70, 80, 100 questions. So here the percentage that the number of questions you are going to face related to the field of questions. So you will be receiving around 25 to 30% questions related to cloud concept, 35 to 40 related to Azure architecture and services, and also 30 to 35% related to Azure management and governance. So the weight of questions is the percentage that you can see here, and this is how many questions you expect to have in each exam. So the areas are split into weights, and these weights will be as percentages. So we'll be expecting these percentages on your exam. When you finish, the exam is multiple choice exams. Some exams have what is called case studies that you need to perform some actions, but related to fundamental questions or fundamental exams, they are mostly coming with no case studies. If a case study occurs or comes in the exam, it will be very easy and you will be overcoming it very easy. Okay, so you can watch exam preparation video, review the exam study guide, demo the exam experience with exam sandbox, like practice assessment. All these are available on Microsoft Learn. You will find the environment that will help you prepare for the exams and for the study guide, and also will be the sandbox, which is the environment that allows you to perform the labs within the environment that you will be having. So give me 1 second, please. I will be switching to the I have a question here. I will answer you in a second. Just let me switch to do you believe that the knowledge about cloud services is crucial for software development? Yes, if you are going to develop web applications, so you should have the basics of knowledge related how to uh, upload or manage your application if they are web apps or websites. There is a service within Azure you will be seeing on the services. If you are planning to work online applications or web applications, at least you should have the knowledge related to that field. And this is something we're going to explain during our day. During the day, you will be seeing that we have some things that we need to have the knowledge about. Okay? So again, when you can see my screen, please let me know. Okay, can you see my screen now? Okay, so thank you, everyone. So now we'll be starting with the cloud concepts. What is cloud computing? What are the benefits of using the cloud? And let me now turn off the camera and go on with about it. So now every one of us, of course, uses his or her own computer. Sometimes in my house or in your house, on your premise, let me uh, stress on this word, on the premise. Maybe the premise is your house. Maybe the premise is your small company. Maybe your premise is a mid company or an enterprise, or maybe a governmental institution or a university or a school with hundreds or thousands of hardware equipments like PCs, networking, storage devices, websites, SharePoint lists, whatever. So whenever you need to start using these environment tools, like I said about the computers, the laptops, the servers, the storage devices, maybe they are directly attached to storage or network attached to storage. Here I am talking about hardware. These are devices that you should carry with you if it is a laptop or maybe it's a PC. You should buy, install, and connect to the network. You have to buy like cables, like switches, and start plugging all these to your main server and supplying them with power and cooling and building a network that will cost you maybe hundreds up to thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of devices that you should buy first, then implement or install and connect, and then do the governance that you want to, let's say, the rules that you want to put for the users. And all above all that, you will need a team that will be supporting these devices and the users. These are the maintenance guys or the IT guys who will be having the responsibility to install the devices like servers, connect them with your PCs or connect your PCs or laptops or servers to them, support them related to updating, related to any updates related to operating systems or to the security features or whatever. So of course, all of you all of you have their own laptops or their own desktops and working within this environment. So the environment on your premise, again, here we're talking about a university which you belong to. This environment, if you let's say that imagine the situation in your university or in your business, which is, let's say, an office, a home, or maybe an apartment or multiple apartments or a building or multiple buildings. Whenever we grow up with the installation, the more hardware we need. So we will be needing a room for the servers, which we call it data center. The data centers are areas. Let me show you one of the data centers. I will show you that data center. I will show you what I'm talking about. This is a data center. If you can see my screen, right? Yes. Great. Okay. As you can see here, this is a data center. This is one type, or all these models are data centers. Let me switch to images so you can see them more clear. As you can see here, this is a data center. Data center is a place where you install your servers, your cabinets, and patch panels and patch cords. Here you can see a beautiful picture, which is the data center after it being installed and implemented. Of course, these data centers we are seeing here are very big data centers. There are smaller data centers with one cabinet, with 2 or 3 servers, which with fewer components. But when building a data center, you should know that the data center for a university or for a bank or for a huge institution that has, let's say, hundreds of users, it needs a lot of preparations. You will be having cables under the ground. You will be having cables above the ceiling. You will be having centralized cooling system, centralized fire system. There is a lot of things that you should be doing. You said you should be preparing to have a data center, then connecting cables to each and every PC or server to work with. You will tell me that we have the Wi-Fi. Of course, we have the Wi-Fi. Even the Wi-Fi needs some preparations like cabling for the stations that will be installed in each floor or maybe on each buildings. So all these things are being done for in order to start working. Then we will need to have the PCs, then we will need to have the servers, and we'll have the switches and cables, whatever. And all these are basically or should be installed in order to start working. The concept with cloud services or cloud environments is totally different. You don't have to do anything related to that. You don't have to buy the tools or the instruments. The cloud provider or the service provider, cloud service provider, tells you that whatever devices you want, I can give to you, I can loan to you, or rent to you. You can rent data centers or use the data centers available around the whole world. And for Azure or Microsoft, we have data centers spread all over the world. Just come to us, take the space that you want on our data centers, start creating your environment or your hardware virtually. You don't have to buy any hardware device. All you need is to go to the portal of Azure and start creating your environment. Start manufacturing virtually your services, your servers, your networking, your virtual machine, whether they are servers, whether they are desktops, whether they are tens of thousands of services, or sorry, of servers or PCs, without having to pay a cost for before you start working. No, whenever you decide to have a server, you can go to the portal and just create this server. In minutes, you will be having the server ready. Whenever you need to have a network, you can also have this network ready in minutes. Whenever you need to have any service of thousands of services that are available within Azure environment or Azure services, you can build your environment in a couple, maybe let's say in 1 hour if you have a very complex and includes thousands of devices like servers, like stations, like networks, like virtual networks, like storage devices. Even you can have your web applications or whatever you want to have in real life. The difference is that you just pay for what you use. When you go with the choice that you need to have your own environment, let me get back to the slides. Okay. When you have your own environment, let's say now, imagine that we are building a new company. This company needs to have, let's say, 50 users. 50 users needs a server in order to serve them. Each user of these 50, as a rule, needs between 2 or 3 gigabytes of RAM in order to connect to the server and work from it. So we'll be designing or we'll be having to buy a server with 2 or 3 processors, whatever. Uh, Plus, let's say if we have, as I told you, we have 50 users and each user needs 2 giga, then we need to have a server with 128 gigabytes in order to function for these users. Plus, I need to store my work on the server, plus I need additional backup, so I will be needing a server, plus an external storage, plus stations for every user, plus networking components to connect these users together, and start implementing and connecting and testing if it's working or not. We'll have a lot of pain when installing and when taking care of each and every step of the implementation for my environment. One important factor is that I have to pay to get all these. And also another thing, I have to wait until I receive these tools or instruments from the manufacturers. As we all know, when we need to have an order for a server or for devices, it might take 1, 2, 3, whatever time. So it will not be delivered when I say I want it. This is very different when using cloud services. I want a server, I just go to the place where I can create my server and just press a button and I create a server. I start using the server. I am done with the server after 1 day, after 1 hour, after 1 minute, after 1 week, after 1 month. All I have to do is to just say goodbye to the server and I delete it, or whatever service I want. So there is a big difference from between the on-premise and the cloud services. On the on-premise, I have to purchase all the devices before I start using. But when I'm using the cloud services, I just create the service that I want. And what I say or what I mean by a service is a computer, is a server, is a storage device. We have tens of services. I will be showing that to you. Let me just, in order to break the ice, take you to the Azure portal. The portal is, here I look to portal.azure.com. As you can see here, of course, you can see my screen, right? Great. Here I will just select the account that I have registered with and created my own Azure environment. We'll be talking about that before the labs. Here I will go on to my Azure environment. I'm just showing that to you. You will be doing that by yourself, but I'm just showing that how easy I can create any service and start using it in seconds. Okay, we'll have to wait a bit for the Azure to load. It's usually faster than that. So I will give it just a couple of seconds. Anyway, let it load. I will leave it to load. I will get back to that. So cloud computing, we will have what I've been talking about. What is cloud computing? In the cloud computing, I can have compute, which means that I can have any PC, server, group of servers, scaled devices, which means that I can have tens or thousands of hundreds of computing devices. These computing devices or the computing power means that I have the processing, I have the memory, and I have the what is needed from the compute uh, part. Regarding the networking, I can also have any networking device that I want, starting from normal switches up to firewalls and manage the switches. So I need to build a environment, a computer environment. I need computing, I need networking, I need storage. All these are supported by Azure environment. Here is what I was talking about when I have my own environment that is on my premise. We can call it private cloud. This is my company. This is my environment. This environment is owned by me, operated by me, maintained by me. Of course, not only me, it is operated by a team of IT personnel. So this is the private cloud. This is private. This is mine. I am responsible about everything on this environment. I'm responsible for support, for updates, for purchase, for everything. This is my private cloud. So it's my own responsibility. This is something very important. My own responsibility. Remember this word, own responsibility. While in the public cloud, which is owned by the cloud services or hosting providers, this is a cloud that is public. From my side, I can use this public cloud. I can log into this public cloud from any device that I have that can be connected to the internet, my phone, my tablet, my PC, my laptop, whatever device I have the ability to connect to the public internet, I can use it and I can start using it from these devices, or I can use the services that are provided by these public clouds. So the public cloud, the responsibility here is not mine. We have what is called shared responsibility. In the private cloud, I was responsible about everything. I had to take care about everything. Everything, literally. I have to buy, I have to implement, I have to maintain, I have to configure, I have to do everything by myself. But when I'm using a public cloud and a service like Azure, all I need to do is to create the services that I want. I create the servers that I want. I create the PCs that I want. I create the network that I want or I need and connect it. The configuration is my responsibility. But taking care of the data centers that these devices or services are hosted in, it's not my responsibility. It's the responsibility of the cloud provider or the cloud service provider. It's Microsoft, it's Amazon, it's Google, anyone. Here is what we have, shared responsibility. This is very important to know. And I can choose different types of shared responsibilities. I can be just using a service, what is called a SaaS service, software as a service. I can use it and I can work on it, and I don't have to worry about anything. One big example about that, which is the Office 365. Office 365 is one example of a big service that includes hundreds of services or hundreds of applications or features I can use just by having a subscription. I use my username and password and login, and from there on, I can apply some policies, but I don't care, or I don't have to worry about where these devices or these files are being created, how they are being maintained. Did you ever use any of Microsoft 365 online applications? I'm sure you did. You have the SharePoints, you have the OneDrive, you have uh, Outlook. You don't worry about backing up your emails, or you don't worry about backing up your OneDrive files. All of these things are maintained and controlled and are the responsibility of Microsoft. Of course, regarding data, they have their retention policies, they have their backup policies, but if you want, you can just take a copy of the online emails or the online files that you have on your Outlook or your OneDrive and keep it with you. This is your responsibility. Of course, you can make agreements with different types of agreements, SLAs, with Microsoft, and they will be protecting you more and more. So we have the private cloud and we have the public cloud. Sometimes we need a mixture between the public cloud and the private cloud. Why? May I ask you why I might need to have a combination between a hybrid cloud and a private cloud? Do you have any idea about that? Just if you have any answer, drop it on the chat box. Any idea why I might use my private cloud, which means that I have my own network, I can use it. And in addition to my network, I have another configuration or another network or another environment on the cloud. Why might I need that? Any ideas? Okay, someone is typing. Maybe because of long-term cost, it frees up the budget more. Very, very, very excellent answer. This is one of the reasons to split the cost. This is very important. One another reason, okay, let's see, Abdul Hakim. When we have sensitive data, I love you, Abdul Hakim. This is what I was going to say. When we have sensitive data and we have some rules that prohibits us from putting this data on the internet. So I have these two reasons. The first reason is to okay, and we have flexibility, we have to get experience. Then I have super powerful students are answering the things that I want to say. So one reason is for the long-term costs. It will be splitting the cost between the hybrid and the private. As an example for that, if I have Office or Windows licenses and I need to use the cloud environment or the cloud environment, I can share the licenses with the environment and the cloud. So I can have my on-premise licenses used on the cloud. This is one example of splitting the cost. Another example is flexibility, to be flexible when I need to use my applications that are, let's say, old applications or generic applications, and I can't use them through the internet, but I still need them. So I would need to have a combination or a hybrid cloud, a combination between on-premise and cloud environment. I have an application that is very advanced and online. This is, I log in with my employees and maybe the clients, and I have my internal application that I'm using, which is still generic. It is not updated, or it is not, or does not have the ability to connect to the internet. So I will have to have two networks, one on my environment and one on the internet or on the cloud provider side, and I will have to connect these together. This is explained in another courses when you go with administration, but I have the ability to connect between users on the cloud and the users on the premise. And one another reason I have here, when I have sensitive data, sometimes we have government rules that prohibits us from sharing information, and these are things that makes me not able to put everything on the cloud. So these are many reasons or good reasons, and thank you for sharing these reasons, and I love you all. Now we'll go to, let's say, the comparison. I have already talked about that, but let's explain it. And the public cloud, this is no capital expenditure to scale up, which means I don't need to have a budget for buying uh, tools, like as I told you, like instruments, like PCs, like servers, whatever. I don't need to have the money before I start working. So no capital expenditure. All I need to do is to design what I want, have an account with the cloud provider with Azure, and start creating those services. Another thing is the application can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned. Applications or services or anything on the cloud can be easily and quickly provisioned, and the same deprovisioned. Let me give you an example. Now I have on my mind an idea about a web application that will do X or Y or Z. What I need to have this application running, I need a server, I need some configuration related to this server. I will also need a PC for my developer that includes a certain environment related to programming or to development, like let's say VS Code, like whatever. Also, I need to configure the service to have online services in order to test, blah, blah, blah. Okay? But with Azure, I have many solutions related to that. I can create a server in a tick or in a click. I can create what is called web app services in a click and directly choose the environment that I want for my application. Maybe it is Linux, maybe it is Windows, maybe it is Mac OS or any other operating system that there are hundreds of them. I just create it easily and I will have my environment ready in minutes, and I will tell the developer, go ahead, you have your own server, you have your own laptop, start working in that, and I can have a big or a type of laptops that includes hundreds of RAMs and infinite capacity for storage, and I can give him the processing power that he needs just in clicks. So I don't have to worry about anything. So imagine that on the real life scenario or on the on-premise, you will have to buy the server, you will have to buy the PC or the laptop, or maybe laptops, and you will have to pay for the licenses of the application that you are going to use. If you are not lucky, you will have to stop this project and you will be having these hardware tools or instruments on your on-premise. You will need to sell them and wait for a buyer for that, and you will lose money. But on the public cloud, on the cloud service, all you have to do is go to the service, stop it and delete it, and you will pay just for the time you use that service, whatever service it is. It is a server, it is a storage, it is a web app, and we'll be seeing that very soon. Organization pay for what they use. This is very clear now. Is what I explained clear? Please let me know if everything is clear. Okay, that's good. So on the private cloud, as I told you, hardware must be purchased. Organizations have to complete control over their resources, their tools, their environment. Organizations are responsible for hardware maintenance. Already said that. In the hybrid cloud, we have what is called the shared responsibility divided between you and the cloud provider or the cloud service provider. This is what I was talking about, the capital expenditure you will have to pay, you have to order, and you will have to wait for the instruments to arrive to you, and you will get billed immediately. Okay, but with Azure or with any services, you will pay after you use these tools. So you pay for what you use or for what you occupy. And payments in Azure, you pay for the processing, you pay for the storage, you pay for the in and out networking packets you are using. So, and you can stop that whenever you want. Okay. There's something consumption-based model, something very interesting that you should know about. Cloud service provider operate in a consumption-based model, which means that users can or users will pay for the resources that they use. This is I said already and explained, I guess. Let's say, let me explain just a bit more about that. Some resources or services differ in cost in different regions. What do I mean by that? Let's say I need to create a virtual server. Before I do that, or before I do purchasing any environment component or any device, I can go to the calculator, to the Azure calculator. We'll be seeing that so that I can see how much this service will cost me. And the Azure calculator, you can decide or select what device that you want to use, how long are you going to use it, how often you're going to use it, maybe 2 or 3 hours per day, and it will give you prediction about the cost that you will be facing. It will take a lot of details from you. So after that, you can predict how much it will cost you. And we have something else called the TCO calculator or total cost calculator that talks about environments. Let's say I have on-premise environment that includes 10, 100, or 1,000 PCs, networks, blah, blah, blah. I can just give this details to the TCO, and the TCO will give me also the expectations and will show me how much this environment will cost me on premise and how much it will cost me on cloud. So I will see the difference between these. It will also calculate the working for maintenance, the work hours working for cleaning, how much power I need, which means the electricity bill, how much how much the cost of cooling, everything. This is the TCO, which is more wide, and we'll see that in the lesson. Okay, what are the cloud benefits? Let's say them fastly. We have what is called the availability, because the cloud service is always available. Why is that? Because Azure is always on, and Azure has uh, servers and data centers all around the world. This is the availability. So it is highly available. Whenever you want to use it, you can find it. Okay, Muzan, what are the disadvantages of hybrid cloud? Let me just finish this slide and I will tell you the disadvantages of the hybrid cloud. Another thing is to describe the benefits of reliability. It is reliable because since it is available, so it is reliable. You can always rely on that. Something here mentioned is called the scalability. Okay? The scalability. What is the scalability? Scalability is a very important feature. Let's say I have an environment and I have a project which is going to be serving or creating a web application that will be serving as expected, as I expect, let's say 1,000 users. So I go ahead and create the plan for that. I go to application plans and I select the plan that includes the service or can support a service for 1,000 users. Okay? After my application starts and people see that this application is very beneficially is very beneficial, so number of users accessing this web application or this service I have created are increasing. So my environment, which was designed to support 1,000 users, is now facing some problems in response. So it is not being able to respond for 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 users. So I need to scale up my environment or my servers or my services. Okay, so I can do that in some clicks. And moreover, I can have a pre-designed plan that I will tell Azure, please, of course, I will tell him or tell it programmatically. Please, if my application requests are more than 1,000, please add one computer or two computers or two RAMs or whatever for this plan in order to be responding well to my request. So I'm telling Azure, if my environment or the request on my application grows, please grow up the environment. This is what is called scalability. I can do it manually and I can do it automatically. So scalability is the ability to scale up and even scale down. If I am spending too much money on a service or on a plan and I don't have the need for this plan, if let's say I tell Azure, if the processing or the requests are not reaching to X number, please scale down and save my money. So save me money by scaling down. And if I need to have scale up, I can do the scale up. Is that clear? Abdul Hakim. Let's start answering the questions. Can you please tell me what are the disadvantages of hybrid cloud? One major disadvantage of the hybrid cloud is the incompatibility between the services, because the network inside or the on-premise use different technologies from the cloud. So I might have with what is called the incompatibility between them and results in performance. This would drag or drive to having low performance. This is one of the most important disadvantages of hybrid cloud, because we are switching or translating, let's say, from a language to a language. Let's say we have an Englishman and an Arabian man that need to talk together. Of course, on the basic language, they will understand each other by translation. But there are some places or some things or some sentences or some expressions that needs to be explained more. They will be, of course, they will be understanding each other, but not in the way two Englishmen understand to each other, or two English or two Arabian men understand each other. So because we have the hybrid environment that talks in a language other than the language that is being used in the public cloud. When I say language, I mean technology, like what technology is being used to, what protocols, what protections, what what I call it, security rules are being used on cloud other than the ones on the on-premise. So we'll have to have modulators, we'll have to have like translators. Of course, I mean translators. These are programs that not translate language. No, they are translating services in order that they can talk together. And when I have a new environment with an old environment, here I will start having what are called bugs or backdoors or threats that can make the security not very well designed. This is one of the, or these are some of the disadvantages. Does automation require programming knowledge? 1 second. What do you think? Anyone can answer this question? Anyone have an idea about that? I will just give 1 minute for others to answer. Of course, here is an answer without discussion. It's just an of course. Let me tell you, my friend, there are levels of automation you can do without the need of programming. This is a good news. Okay, you can do a lot of automations without the need of programming knowledge, especially with power platforms. This power platforms, I guess that will be on the 3rd week of this training. So if you are interested in having a knowledge and automation without programming, because power platform is called no programming or let's say low code, no code environment. So you can use the automation of power platforms and performing lots of automations without the need of programming knowledge. Of course, you can get more of automation if you have a programming knowledge, but yes, without programming knowledge, you can use automation. Does that answer you, Mr. Abd Al-Hakim? Okay. Here are the cloud benefits: high availability, scalability, predictability, governance. Governance, it means that I can govern everything on my environment. I can govern the resources. I can govern the users. I can govern the environment. I can govern the resource groups. Everything I have on my environment, I can govern it and control it. What do I mean by control or govern? It means that giving the ability to whom to do what. This is one example. Maybe I don't want users or 1 or 2 users to do this or that. I can govern that within Azure environment or governance and control. Elasticity, reliability, security, manageability. It's very easily to manage. You can just add, remove, edit any of the services by simple clicks and will be seeing them. Cloud service types, as we have seen, I will explain that directly. We have what is called the infrastructure as a service. We have what is called platform as a service, and we have what is called the software as a service. And the shared responsibility, which I talked about earlier, we will see together these 3 types of services. Then we will be able to identify which of these are suitable for us. Okay, so then we have infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Let me show you one important image before, then I will get back to this. Okay. Let's now talk about this picture. Look at it for a minute. Let me know if you understand anything of that. Just look at the components. As you can see here, we have the SaaS. We have the SaaS, which is software as a service. We have the platform as a service. We have infrastructure as a service, and we have the on-premise. Look at this and this and see this and this. Can you have any analyzation for this image, or can you give me any explanation about that? I intently came to this image. I skipped the ones before it, in order to see if you can analyze anything. Here we have Abdul Hakim. Waiting for Abdul Hakim. He is typing. Let's see what is Abdul Hakim typing. Again, guys, please do not be shy. Please share whatever you have in mind. Say, I want this day to be interesting. I don't want you to get bored. I want you to get the most of knowledge we can share together. The shared one is hybrid. Here, yes, this is true. But here is the services of the cloud. We have what is called infrastructure as a service. Here, Microsoft gives me the physical data center. As you can see here, infrastructure. Infrastructure is usually the physical data center, the physical network, and the physical host. Infrastructure equals physical. So here, Microsoft gives me the environment tools that I want. I have the physical, physical, physical. But on my premise, I have to build the physical data center, the physical network, the physical host, the operating system. Everything here is my responsibility. So imagine the network. If you don't have cloud services, you will be responsible about everything. So cloud services gave me three offerings. It gave me the infrastructure as a service. It says that we can give you the physical data center, we can give you the physical network, and we can give you the physical host. From there up, you will be managing the other parts of your environment. So you will have to decide what operating system that you want. You will need to control the networks and manage them and see how to combine them and what to have IP addresses, whatever. You will be responsible about managing your applications, managing your infrastructure or Active Directory, your accounts, your mobile devices, blah, blah, blah. This is what is called infrastructure. I just ask the provider to give me just the physical data center, the physical network, and the physical host. This is the shared responsibility starts here. Here is the slice or the part Microsoft will be responsible about, and this is my part. So if I want to upgrade more and have less responsibility, I go with platform as a service. This is the platform as a service. Here is the part of infrastructure as the platform, which is the operating system, the network controls, the applications, the identity and directory infrastructure. Here, I will be sharing that with Microsoft. It will be here only my responsibility, my full responsibility. Here is a shared responsibility. And there is Microsoft total responsible for. So this is a more shared responsibility. I have things that I am responsible about totally. I have things that are shared with Microsoft, and I have things that are totally Microsoft's responsibility. This is the platform as a service. The one we are using with Office 365 or with Google or with uh, OneDrive or with Facebook or كذا, which is called the SaaS, the software as a service. All I need to do is to manage my data, my own devices, my own accounts, which means that the passwords, the things that are related directly to me. And from there on, I share a small part with Microsoft, then the other parts are Microsoft or the cloud service provider responsibility. So whenever I go with higher solutions or sharing responsibilities, split the responsibilities, the more I get relaxed, the more Microsoft takes care of my environment or my services or whatever. So this will make me relaxed more, relieved more, and Microsoft will have the responsibility. Let me show you the pictures that I skipped. This is the infrastructure as a service. As you can see here, I have to take care of the servers and the storage, the networking and firewall, the data center. This is the infrastructure by or infrastructure as a service. The higher level here, I will add the platform as a service. This is the infrastructure as a service, plus things related to operating system and environments. This is the platform as a service. This is the platform as a service. And here we have the SaaS. All these are included, plus the SaaS, it will be the Microsoft responsibility more than mine. So if we split or we divide responsibilities here, I can see how I am going to deliver responsibility or share responsibility with Microsoft until I reach the SaaS, which is the place I don't have to take care or care about anything or worry about anything because Microsoft is doing everything to me. Microsoft is updating the hardware, is updating the software, is patching security, is managing everything related to me. All I need to do is to take care of my information and my accounts. For SaaS, the cloud services, this question by Abdelhamid, I guess, or he's saying something. For SaaS, the cloud services are used only for storing. Infrastructure is intended to use the cloud in a very low level and control what's going on exactly. PaaS is a combination between the two. Yes, from the customer's perspective. Let's wait what's Abdelhamid typing and see the next slide. Here is something that let me get back. What does applications mean in terms of responsibility? Here you mean, okay. Responsibility varies by type. In the SaaS, the application means the program or the collection of applications that you use. So if you have an application you are using, you have created, or you are hosting, when you are working on-premise, you will have to create this application, maintain this application, and upgrade this application. But when you are using an application or an application that is as a software as a service application like Office 365, like Outlook, these are applications. When you are using Office 365 or Outlook, all you need to care about is to send emails, receive emails, manage your inbox, just do the things that you usually do. But in terms of programming or managing the Microsoft Outlook or Microsoft Office 365 basic environment, which is the development, it's not your responsibility. If there is an upgrade, you will be notified with that upgrade and you will be using that update or upgrade automatically. You do not have to worry about that. You do not have to worry about the core of the application. This is what is meant by applications responsibility. Okay? Is that clear? Okay, that's great. One second, I'll be with you. I am so sorry. So, can you see my screen now? Okay, that's great. Now, this is the end of module 1. Now, you can go and have 15 minutes break. But before we go to the break, do you have any questions or any things that needs to be explained? Let me know, please. If you have any questions, if you have any things that is not clear, you need me to repeat, to re-explain, I am more than ready and happy to do that. Hello again. Are you all back? So we can start our next module. Okay. Now we'll be after the first module, we'll be moving to the next module, which is what talks about the Azure architecture and services. How is Azure architecture? We'll see a lot of details. We'll see some demonstrations. We'll see a lot of things. So it is a bit longer than the first model and includes some more information. So please, again, if you have any questions, do not hesitate, ask me, and I will be ready to answer any of your questions. So we'll be talking about, this is the outline of what we're going to take or to study in this module. We'll be talking about the regions and availability zones. These are very important topics. We'll be also talking about the type of subscriptions. In order to use Azure, of course, we need to have a subscription. We have different types of subscriptions. We'll talk about resource groups. We have already explained a bit about uh, computing types, computing power. We'll also talk about application hosting, virtual networking, storage, storage types, storage services, redundancy, file management and migration. We'll also talk about the identity, access, and security. This is the part related to security or governance. We'll talk about that. We'll see all that within the environment. So let's start. In order to use Azure, you need to have an Azure account. There are different types of accounts that you can have if you are an enterprise or even if you are an individual. There are some Azure free accounts that are given for schools or for universities and for MCT personnel, and there are some ways to get a free account to use it. Even if you don't have all these, just as an individual, you can create your own Azure free account. All you need to have is to have a credit card this credit card will be used just for verification. It will not be used or no amount will be conducted from that credit card. It's just for verification. You can also be have a free account if you are enrolled within Microsoft schools or Microsoft universities, which means that the schools or the universities that have a working plan with Microsoft, and you can also use the Microsoft Learn Sandbox. The Microsoft Learn Sandbox is a virtual environment that gives you the ability to perform the labs or the examples or anything. These sandboxes are mainly free and you can access them from Microsoft Learn Sandbox. I will give you all the resources between the breaks or within the breaks or the long break of the lunch. I will give you all resources related to everything. How to create a free user account, we'll be seeing that, and how to explore the sandbox or how to use all the sandbox. I'll also show that to you, how to activate it and use PowerShell and Bash and Shift Azure interactive mode. Lot of things will be explained. Okay, so let's start with Azure regions, region pairs, and sovereign regions. What are these? I will tell you in details what are the regions. Regions are places in the world or in the countries that have, sorry, that have data centers. These data centers are places that hold the services that we are using within Azure. So we have different regions in different countries. We have 60 plus regions all around the world. And each of these regions has its own mirror or has its own backup region. So all the regions are mirrored. This is what is called region pairs. So if I have my own environment or my own service, my own virtual machine that is created on one of the Azure regions, I can choose to have my virtual environment or virtual machine or virtual service mirrored to that region pair or to the pair or to the mirror of my own region. Let me show what I mean by that within the environment of Azure. This is the Azure environment. As I told you, this is the environment of Azure. Let me give you a walkthrough within this environment. Here, when we talk about the subscription, here is the account I'm logged in with. Because I am a Microsoft certified trainer, I have the ability to use Microsoft free account, which gives me $200 as a credit each month in order to try to teach, to do whatever I want. I can see these are the details of my subscription. Here is the credential I'm using. Here I can see the directories or the tenants I'm using. Here I can see the subscription. As you can see here, I press on the subscription. My subscription is MSDN platform. This is offered by Microsoft. From within this platform or this subscription, I can start using Microsoft Azure in order to create the resources that I want. What I was talking about is the regions, okay? If I am creating any resource, what I mean by resource is any resource that I want. What are the resources? Let's see the resources. Here I have all resources. I press on that to give you an idea about the resources that can be created. I will just press here, create. As you can see here, on the left, I can see the resources that I can create. Here I can create virtual machines, web applications, SQL database, function apps, Key Vault, Data Factory. Data Factory is used for big data analysis when we're talking about data management or data engineering. We'll use the Data Factory, which is an application or a service that is used in order to facilitate, manage, and manufacture data that we want. This thing will be one day, if you go with DP900, you will understand what I'm talking about when you're talking about data. So here we have template deployment, logic application, automation, public IP addresses. Here I can see a lot of different operating system being used. So here is what is called, let's say, virtual machines. Here, if I know I want to go with analytics, here is with blockchain, here is the compute. So each category has a lot of services I can create or start using. So what is the thing I want to show you is that if I need to create, let's say here, I can press here, I can see all this also, and I get back to home, or I can use the search. I will just start creating any simple resource. I will start with virtual. I press virtual. As you can see, we have virtual machines, virtual network. It is making it easier for me to find what I want. I will just select the virtual machine. I will not do all the action. I will just need to show you what I am explaining about regions. Here I will select an Azure virtual machine. Of course, we will be doing exercises about that. Okay. In each service you are going to create, there are things you need to fill, like the subscription. If you have a subscription, you can create resources. If you do not have a subscription, you cannot create resources. This is number one. Number two, whenever you need to create any resource, a virtual machine, a web application, a virtual network, any application, any resource, you should have a resource group that is included in it, which means that any resource I need to create should be in a resource group. So if here I am starting with a new environment and I have no resource groups, I will have to choose create new. I will create a new resource group. I will call it AZ900 November 2023. This resource group will include all the resources related to this course, which is AZ900 November 4th, if you want, or just give it November, and I will press on OK. Okay, here is the resource group. What is the virtual machine name? I will give it a name, VM1. Okay, here is what I was talking about, the region. Let me press here, and you can see all the regions that you can create your virtual machine on. There are some golden rules you should be aware of. Create the resource as much close as you can to your place, which means that if you are in India, you can create the resource, or you should, or let's say not should, you are advised to create the environment or the resource to the nearest place to you. If there is a center or a data center in India, you just find it and select it. If not, you find the nearest to you. This is one golden rule. But pay attention to what I'm going to say. If you want to create any resource, you should take into consideration one another rule or two another rules. The availability of the service you are trying to create, because there are some services that are not available or still not available in some regions, but of course they will be available later. This is one rule. Another rule is to see the cost of this resource in this environment. Now, in Sweden, there is a new resource or a new data center, and it has 50% discount on any resources you are going to use. So you test the connection between your area and Sweden if you're going to be using Sweden, because this is an offer by Microsoft that is running now. You can create your resources in Sweden because you are trying to save some money because you are a student and trying to do some labs. Let's say this example. Or even you are starting up your company and still don't know where are things are going. So Sweden now is a good choice for you to start with because it has 50% discount on all the services. So as you can see here, I will not select Sweden. I will go with US Central, or maybe because I'm in Lebanon, I can go with United Arab Emirates or Qatar because these are the nearest to me. So since we are working with Qatar, I will select Qatar. This is the region, okay? Then the availability zone, which is where I want my resources to be mirrored to. If I need to have more than one mirror or more than one resource or more than one mirror, I can just select the availability option that I want. Availability related to if I have any problem, it will be available on another physically separated, which means another region. Okay, or I wanted to distribute my VMs across all domains at a scale. These are a bit advanced. These are an AZ-104, but the idea here I want you to get is that I can have my environment split into different zones, into different regions. This makes sure that I am safe and my resources are safe. This is what I wanted to show you related to regions and the availability zones or the mirroring. Let's say we call it mirroring. I can mirror to more than one place, but it is not free. There are some basic services that have a free mirroring, but whenever I go with larger scale security or larger scale uh, mirroring, I have to pay for that. So is that clear for you? Did you understand the idea about the regions and their availability zones? Okay, that's great. So I will not continue with this. I will get back to the, because we're going to do a lot of examples and many things will be seen. So the data centers, as I told you, and we have the resource and resource groups. The resources, any of the services I'm going to create is called resource. And the resource group is the container that contains all my resources. I can have a, let's say, a plan to split my resources by usage or country or type, whatever. What do I mean by that? I didn't understand zones. Zones are the places where your environment will be split into or mirror to. You can have your environment. Let me go to Notepad. No, not pad, to Paint. I will try to draw something to explain that to you. Okay. What is that? Why is it so small? Okay. I don't know what's going on, but I guess it is taking. Okay. Here, let's say I have my environment. This environment includes, let's say, VMs. Oops, too big. VMs, virtual machines. Okay. I have also in my environment, I have virtual networks. I have virtual storage. Okay. This is my environment. It is in my, let's say it is in my region, in region 1. Okay. So the zones where is where I will have a mirror of my environment. It is in zone 1 or zone 2. I have, if I select to have more than one zone, if I select in my replication rule that I need to have more than one, give me 1 second and I will answer you that. Just listen to the example I am saying. So if I have a region that includes my environment and I decided to have another or more advanced plan in order to mirror or duplicate my environment into, I will have to select into how many zones I want that. I can select into one zone. This is zone 1. So, and I will go with replication or mirroring. So it will have all these that are here mirrored into here. Let me say I have this one and I will have another one here, the same as it will include also my VN, virtual networks, and virtual storages. So when having these zones, because I selected to have more than one, let me show it to you, please. When I created, it is exactly copying the resources to another regions. Okay, automatically we have a mirroring zone or a duplicate zone or a backup zone for my basic services. But if I am going to have a very sensitive environment, I will go with selecting more replication features. I will show that to you. Let me show that to you here. As you can see here, the availability zone, I selected this one, and I would go with multiple zones, okay? Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3. But let's take into consideration and make sure that these are not free services. They will give me, or they will oblige me to pay more. So sometimes if things are not so sensitive, I might select none or maybe I would not also select availability zone at all. So I do not need availability zone. I need them to be on my basic or on my first data center, and this center will be automatically mirrored to another place. So I would not need to have any availability zones within an Azure region. So I shouldn't select them. So I go with the selection that I do not need redundancy or copying the resources to another region. Is that clear? Okay. So great. The subscription, as I told you, is the amount you pay monthly for Microsoft Azure. What type of subscription you have? You might have an enterprise subscription, you might have a school subscription, a student subscription, and you might have different types of subscriptions. Okay? So here are the regions that are offered by Azure. As you can see, it is almost everywhere. In Africa, still, there's not a lot of data centers, but if you can see in Europe and USA and in Australia, they are good. In Asia, they are not bad, but still in South America and Africa, we need more data centers, but due to some circumstances, to some reasons, I hope they are still developing more and more. But between all the main three cloud providers, Microsoft is the one that has the most regions in the world. It is 60 regions with over than 143 countries. All these regions include data centers. These data centers are well maintained by power, by cooling, by everything. So whenever you host a service, you do not have to worry about losing your data because each of these centers is mirrored into another region that is more than 300 miles away, which is physically far from the first center, and this is because maybe some we call it major weather problems like hurricanes, like well, I don't know, I don't like to mention all these, but whenever you have any major force that might destroy a data center, this data center is totally protected and mirrored into another one. So that's why Microsoft has the second biggest share in cloud computing. It is now number 2 in the world, and it is working and upgrading very fastly and including multiple services. And I hope the share will be much more than in the next years because everyone, every institution, every business is moving towards the cloud. These are the availability zones. As you can see here, we can have availability 1, availability 2, availability 3. I already explained that. This is the way they protect. If you can see here, every one of these is mirrored. As you can see here, they are mirrored into different availability zone. If this fails, this will be ready and this will be ready. It will be switching between main and master and backup. Okay, everything is backed up, the infrastructure, the environment, the data, and everything is being well maintained. It has its own, as I told you, independent power, independent cooling, independent networking, and they are connected together. Pay attention to one thing, is that all Azure resources or data centers, they have their own backbone fiber optic network. They have their own backbone fiber optic network. They are not connected through the internet. No, they are serviced through the internet, but not connected through the main internet. So you might have the availability or your information or your data center components or your environment connect to each other through Microsoft safe encrypted fiber optic network. This is very important to know. Your information are not on the internet. They are on Microsoft fiber optic private well encrypted network. Okay, of course, so some it is dependent on the internet for us to log into our environment, but if something goes wrong with the internet, we do not have to worry about our environment because our environment are protected and connected through Microsoft, as I told you, backbone or fiber optic network. What is Azure Play Fab? Uh, I don't know the meaning of the word. Can you please explain it to me? Play Fab. Okay. Here are the regions. As you can see, each region in the world has its own mirror, or it can be mirrored into another region. As you can see, at least 3 miles separation, automatic replication. When a region fails, another region will be the primary, as you can see. Whenever any region is making, let's say it's stopped because of a disaster, a natural disaster, or maybe for a reason, for update or for any other reason, you as a user, you will not feel that. If Microsoft switches between the regions that will support you, maybe you are hosting your environment in North Europe, and North Europe servers or data centers need to be updated or something occurs with them, you will be automatically switched into the mirror, which is on the West Europe, and you will not be feeling or knowing that what is going on. That is the responsibility of Microsoft. This is what is called the responsibility. You remember when we talked about the shared responsibility, okay? We have what is called the Azure sovereign regions. We have one for the US government and we have one for China. These are totally independent regions created for the US government in association with Microsoft Azure. It is only for the government, and the government personnel can access this or these the services that are within these US government services. And there is one for China. It is not operated directly by Azure because there are rules of maybe no relation between direct companies in USA with China. This is something political, I guess. So this sovereign region that is being used by China is controlled by a third-party company which can deal with USA and China. So these are the sovereign regions. They are for the governments and not for public. Okay. This is something we have seen. So Azure resources, before I go on or continue, is everything clear till now? Okay, great. Abdul Hakim, you asked what is MS Azure Play Fab. I didn't get the meaning of Play Fab. Please, if you want to know that, just tell me what you mean by that, and I'll explain it to you. So Azure resources, as you can see, we can create virtual machines. We can create storage accounts. Azure virtual machines are like device or like computers, servers, and any virtual machine that you want to create. These are the virtual machines. The storage accounts are like external storage or like internal storages, hard disks that I use from within the Azure. I can use different types of storage accounts. I create the account and I can create within it the network storage, or I can create the containers that will contain my information. So if I need to create to use a computer, I will create a virtual machine. If I need to create or to use a storage like for terabytes, petabytes, I will need to create a storage account. If I need to create or use a network, I will need to create a virtual network. If I need to create an application, and this application will be hosted on the internet, or it will be called a web application, I will need a certain environment in order to create this application. So I go ahead and I go and create an app service. And if I need an SQL database in order to contain or to have my components within it, I can go with SQL databases, and I can go also with functions. Let me show you some examples about that in order to, I will start over with creating a virtual machine. So here I will create a new virtual machine. I will see the answer you set, Abdul Hakim, and we'll come back to you. Don't worry. Now we'll go home. This is how I log to Azure. I will go with portal.azure.com. Okay. I just logged in again in order to show you how I do that. Now I press on my name, and here I am in Azure environment. Okay, this is the portal where I have the ability to create any resource that I want. When I start my environment, it states that I have 96.88 credit remain. Now I want to create a new resource. Let me create a new virtual machine. I will start by create a resource. I will create a virtual machine. I select virtual machine and press on create. I will make it as fast as I can. The virtual machine, I will call it VM1. Okay. I will keep it in Qatar. I will not select any availability zones. I will stay with standard. I will go with Windows 10. Is not supported, is not available on this environment. Let me choose another region. We'll go with US. Okay. As you have seen, there are some type of images not supported in Qatar. Okay. Here I will leave everything as is. I will just select another size. The size here, what is meant by the size here? I selected the Windows version, Windows 10. I have different sizes I can select from. I'll press here. If I need higher sizes, like this is the category, here are the general purpose systems. Okay, here if I need to go with more powerful systems, I would go by selecting it. This is the 4th generation D family. These are ideal for workloads. As you can see, explanation and description of each family, what they do, and maybe they are good for this or that. As you can see here, D series. Okay, you can select whatever type or size that you want. Pay attention to that the higher the family, the more cost it will cost you. So here I will select the cheapest one just for demonstration, and I press on select. Okay, I will set a username. I will say user, and we'll put a password for this computer that I need to log in with. Okay. Must include reserved words. The word user is not applied. I will select my own name. Here is the password. Let me retype it again. Okay, and here is again the password. I will go with allow selected port, the remote desktop procedure call, which is also, let me explain it to you here. It's not in your course information, but the RDP is not a safe port. Okay, we have to use another way. Okay, which is will be if you go ahead and continue with Azure administration, you would know that we use something else than RDP, but now for this example, I will allow the HTTP and the RDP only. And here I press I confirm, and I will go to the networking to see if I need to do anything related to that. I didn't create any network yet with you, but I already have my own virtual machines that were here, virtual networks. Okay, so I will leave everything as is and will go to the review and create, and I will be creating my first virtual machine. After the reviews everything, it will allow me to create this virtual machine. I will leave it working and we'll get back to it when it is done. Did it show anything? I guess yes. I saw something. Not this one. Okay, validation failed. There is something on the basics not set. Let's see what is that. Okay, the passwords are not. Let me. Now it should be correct. And again, review and create. Here is a summary of what is being created. Now I have created the virtual machine with Windows 10. These are the terms, and this will cost me 0.0700 USD per hours. So before I go ahead, it is just making sure that I read all these configuration are good and good for me, and I then press on create. Okay, whenever it starts creating, here you will be seeing on the notification area that initializing the creation of virtual machine has been started, and you can go back, let's say, to your home. And now I will give you another sample. I will close this. Again, I would need to create, let's say, a virtual. I press on a virtual, as always, virtual network. I can go ahead and create another. I have 3 virtual networks here. If I have to connect more than one computer to a virtual network, I go with my virtual network. I press on create. As you can see here, I will follow the same steps. Select the subscription, select the resource group, name the resource. Here I'm going to name the virtual network. And if I have additional configuration, I can configure that from the additional parts of the creation. As you can see here, this is the resource group. I will change it to, what do we call? Did we call UDST? This is the one. And the virtual network will call it VN UDST. Okay. Where would it be? It would be in US West. Or did I, or East US? I don't remember, whatever, but try to keep all your environment components on the same place, on the same region. If you have anything related to firewall, if you need to use a firewall, you just enable that. If you have anything to do with specific ranges of IP addresses, and this is something more advanced than this course, but I'm just showing that to you. We have what is called the tags. Tags is like I am categorizing my resources. It's just used for categorizing, for saying that this is for, let's say, the name will be VM, sorry, VM UDST, and the value would be, let's say, in the company of, oh, sorry, here it's not UDST, VM UDST, and this one is being used for accounting. Okay, here I have this network is being used for accounting. If I have, sorry, let's call it VM2. VM2. Here I have not VM, VNet, VNet2. And we have here another VM, and it is being used for also for accounting. Here, this tag is like when you put a sticker on your computer in order to display that is this computer belongs to the accounting department. This computer belongs to sales departments, just like a sticker in order to categorize your hardware, just for categorizing, nothing else, nothing more. Okay, so if here I don't want to do it, in order not to mix things up, I'm just explaining that for you. Now I have the basics ready. Security, I don't want to use anything. I would leave everything as it is. I would go with review and create. As you have seen here, there was a message that appeared. It is saying that deployment succeeded, that the virtual machine that I was creating is done and ready. I can just go to the resource and start using it, or let me finish the virtual network first. Let it start creation, then I will go and see the virtual machine that I have created. Okay. Now that is being created, let me go home and see the virtual machines that I have. Okay, as you can see, this is the virtual machine that I have created. I would press on that. Now the network is ready. Okay, I have the virtual network. This is my virtual machine. I can connect to it. I can use it. This will going to be doing on the labs. I'm just showing you that I have a virtual machine, and this virtual machine is running. And here I can connect to the virtual machine. I can control the disks. I can configure, and I also can see some monitoring for this virtual machine to see if this machine has any issues. If there are some recommendations, these are the services by Azure, they give me recommendation, they give me if there are some issues, they give me the issues, they show me the issues and suggest solutions for that. Okay? Is everything clear till now, guys? Am I running fast? Is everything understood with you? Okay, that's great. So let's get back to the presentation. Resource group, as I told you, resource group is the container that contains the resources. Resources can exist only in one resource group. I can't have a resource in different resource groups, okay? I can have different resources in one resource group. What I mean by that, if I have a virtual machine, this virtual machine can only exist in one group. But on the other hand, if I have a resource group, I can have different resources within it. I can have web applications, I can have virtual machines, I can have virtual storage, I can have virtual networks. But when I need to connect different virtual machines into one network or different networks, all these should be in one virtual resource group. One more thing I can do is moving resources from one resource group to another. What I need to do is that I create a new resource group, I move the resources to that new group, then I delete the one that I have created. Okay? Is that clear? Okay. Now we'll talk about the subscriptions. As I told you, we have Azure subscriptions, different types of subscriptions. We have the free subscriptions, we have the paid subscriptions, and we can, in our environment, we can have different subscriptions. What do I mean by that? Or why would I have different subscriptions in my environment? Do you have an idea or any suggestions why I might have different subscriptions under my account? If you look to that picture, you can deduce the answer. Please let me know if you can deduce the answer. One for testing and one for deployment. Yes. What is that? I do these subscriptions in order to split the cost over departments. Like I have development subscriptions or developer subscriptions. We have the test subscriptions and the production subscription. And I need to assign a certain budget for each of these departments. So I create 3 subscriptions in my Azure accounts and I assign a budget for each of these. I can do that from the Azure management. I say that for this subscription, I need to have a budget like $1,000. For test subscriptions, I would give them $250. For production, maybe I will give them $2,000. So when I have an Azure account, I can create different subscriptions. Maybe not for money or for budget, I might be doing for separation of companies. Maybe I am a holding company and I have 3 or 4 sub companies under my holding. So I would create a subscription for each of these companies. So I can create different subscription. I will show you something related to that also in the portal. I would go here. This is home. If I can't find this one here, all I need to do is to search for subscription. And as you can see here, we have billing subscription and subscriptions. Here I would go to the subscriptions. I have my own subscription. All I need to do to add a new subscription, I would go with add. It will check my eligibility to see what subscriptions I can have within my main subscription, if I have, or I can do another subscription within that. I will select the subscription that suits me and go ahead with. If in order to view your eligible, because I am an MCT, I have some eligibility, some limitations, as you can see here. Okay, and I have all I can do is I already used. I have different subscription and I have a different what I call them tenants. So it is that what I can do. But when you have another type of license, you can have different subscriptions and add more. As you can see here, I have 4 different tenants within my subscription. Okay, here I can set things related to budget. Let me show you. I can control the budget of each subscriptions. Guys, excuse me for 2 minutes. I will be back. Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm back. Okay, here, as you can see, we have the cost management. I can set the budgets that I want. I can see the cost. The storage. The storage is another one of the sources or resources that we need in our environment. So in order to store our information, data, we need to have storage. We have different options within Azure for storage. We can use them in order to keep our data on the cloud, and even we can also move data from cloud to our own computers by creating similar to the network, which is called the shared resource or shared device, or we can just have it on our computer. So storage is a very important topic. We're going to see how to create Azure storage, describe the storage tiers, and describe the redundancy, which is the automatic backup or the uh, image of do all storage services support CRUD operations. You will see that answering through the explanation, and you will see all the supported operations within the explanation. Just wait and see. We'll also see what we can use to copy files. We have an application that is called Azure Storage Explorer. We can just download it to our server or to our computer and start copying files from cloud to our own computers or our services that are on cloud. So we have some rules that we should follow in order to create a storage account. The name of the storage account should be unique because it is global and it is being shared all over the internet. So the name should be unique name. Okay, it can provide access to this storage or to the components of this storage through the explorers you are using through Chrome or Safari or Edge, whatever. You can also determine the storage services and redundancy. Redundancy, as I told you, it's a kind of a backup we can use, and we can use the shadow copies, and we can use the instant images for these storages. The storage redundancy, which is an important thing we should understand. We have different type of configuration for the redundancy. When we say locally redundant, it means not on my computer, it means on the data center that is holding or hosting the storage that we have. When I say locally redundant, it means that within the same data center that I have created the storage, it will be redundant locally. Okay, and here when we say 11 nines, it means that it is 99.999 11 nines redundant. So higher level, which is zone redundant, it means that I have 3 availability zones in the primary regions. So it means that the storage will have 1 main storage and 3 availability zones also on the same primary region, which means that I have 3 copies of my data, but each of these copies is in a zone different from another, which means that they are within the zone, protected within my zone in 3 different primary regions, which means that it has a higher durability, which is 99.12 nines. Okay, then we have what is called the geographical redundant storage. It means that we have 1 copy in the main data center, and we have another copy in another data center that is in another geographical area, which means that they have at least 300 miles distance away from each other. 1 in East US and 1, let's say, in West US, 1 in Qatar North and 1 in Qatar East. Whatever the single data centers and the secondary regions are, which means that I have 2 different geographically redundant storage, and this gives me the availability of 16 nines. Another more advanced one, which is geographical zone redundant, which means that I have 3 availability zones in the primary region, which means that in East US I have 3 copies, And in West US, I have also 3 copies, which means that I have here also 6 copies of my storage data. Of course, each of these redundancy tiers has its own cost. It's not for free, it costs money. So you should be aware and take good care of choice when you need to select between which redundancy configuration you need. This is related to the sensitivity of your data. How sensitive is your data? How bad would it be if you lose your data? So you go with the configuration that suits you and suits your budget as a primary factor. Take care of this note because these things are cost. It costs you by mega. Each mega you store or each gigabyte you store costs an amount of money. Of course, you can know each one, how much does it cost by contacting Azure support or by using the Azure calculator. Okay, we have different types of storage. We have the Azure blob. It is like uh, the data we store in our disk and folders. We have Azure Disk. We can create a disk that has, let's say, a virtual machine that has an operating system, it has an application and other add-ons or services to access it and use it. This Azure Disk, I can just implement it on any virtual machine that I have. It is a standalone Azure virtual disk I can use with different virtual machines that I have. It is not related to one single machine. No, it is related to any Azure virtual machine, virtual server that I need to use. It can be used like an operating system with its applications and configuration in order not to reconfigure and reinstall data when I need them. I just take this hard disk and use it within any virtual machine that I have. The Azure Queue is used for storing messages like queue messages that are used in advanced queuing or in advanced scenarios. This will be explained if you go with AZ-104 in order to understand the Azure Queue. But in general, it is a place to store messages. Of course, these messages are not normal messages or email messages. No, these are messages coming from a certain application for a certain use. It is out of our scope in this course, but you should know that it exists. We have the Azure files is the same like the network connection or network sharing that we use in our networking when we have a sharing, when we have a server and multiple computers connected to this servers, we use what is called the SMB, the server message block protocol, that have the sharing that allows me to create a sharing for a folder, for a file, and give it certain permissions and rules. So this is the Azure file, and we have the Azure tables when we are talking about relational or non-relational databases where we need to use them. The one that we mostly use is the Azure blob and the Azure files. These are the most common usage, but of course, others like Azure Disk or Azure Queues and Azure Tables are used also, but in different scenarios. Okay, to access, since these storage devices are public on the internet or public endpoints, each of them has a URL composition. Like here, when we read HTTPS storage account name, here is the difference. This is the blob. This is when we read this, we know that this type is a blob. When we read this one, we need to know this DFS or it is a data lake storage. When it is Azure files, it will be starting with file. When it is a queue, it will be starting with a queue. When it is a table, it will be starting with a table. Why I am showing this to you? Because during the exam, when you are going to do an exam, they will ask you, they will give you this, let's say, one of these, and they will ask you to what does this URL refer to. When you look at this, you will be knowing the answer, and you would select the answer that is referring to, which means that if they ask you, we have the following URL, to what type of storage does it refer? So when you read this queue, and you will be finding in the multiple answers a queue storage, so you will assign it to this, and you select the one by reading this part of the URL. So this part of the URL defines the type of the storage that you are using. Okay? So another important thing related to Azure storage is the access tier. We have different types of tiers, which means that, or let me explain, when you create a storage, you should select one of these tiers. So a hot tier is the tier that has a lot of access on it. So when you store data on the storage account that you have created, this data that you are storing in a hot tier, it is expected that it is being accessed a lot or frequently. So the access won't cost you a lot. Okay? Even the storage won't cost you a lot. But if you store files that are not being accessed a lot in a hot storage. Sorry, do you have anything to say, Abdul Hakim? Oh, it's okay, no problem. So again, deciding, as I was saying, if you have files that are being accessed a lot, you choose the hot tier. If you have files that are being accessed but not frequently, like about 30 days you access these files, you select the cool. While if you have storage, you have files that are being accessed rarely, like 90 days, between 90 days, you open this file today and then you will open it after 90 days. This file should be put in a cold storage. And if you have data that you rarely access, you go with the archive file type or tier type. That's because whenever you put files that you do not access frequently in a hot tier, you will be paying for the hot tier for the files that you are not accessing very frequently, because accessing the files that are on the hot tier is cheaper than accessing the files that are on the archive tier. That's why they have different categories. So make sure that you select the tier that suits the files that you want. If you are accessing daily, you go with hot. If you are accessing every 30 days, you go with cool. If you go with more than 90 days, you go with cold. If you never or rarely or about 180 days to use them, so go ahead and choose the archive. Okay, let's go to the portal and see how we create a storage. Okay, here in the home, I would go with selection of storage account. Here I have 3 storage accounts. By default, when you create an Azure account and you start using the PowerShell here, it automatically creates a default storage in order to load, upload files, and download files to be used within the commands you are going to use in Azure. Okay, because there are some templates, there are some commands that you might need to use, and you will need a storage. So whenever you start using the cloud shell, you would need to have a storage. So whenever you use it for the first time, it asks you to create a storage, and this storage is created for the cloud storage. Now we need to create a storage for us. I will do it quickly. I will press on create. See something with Azure today. It's a bit slow. It's not from my side. It's, I guess, from Azure. Maybe they are updating or facing any problem. You have to just be patient with that. Okay, here is how to create the storage. Again and again, the same questions. The subscription and the resource group. I would select the resource group that I've created for this course, and I would call UDST November 4 AZ 900. I guess this name would be a unique name. Here it's selecting Qatar Central. If I need to choose another, I can do that. What is the performance that you need? I would select standard. Here I would go with locally redundant. And I would go to see if I have anything here. If I need to require secure transfer, allow enabling anonymous access, which means that I allow users to access it directly, or I need to have it protected with an SSH. Enable account key, it was enabled by default. These are some configurations. When you read more, you will be understanding these because they are related to some security features and additional readings that you might need. Here are the access tiers. I have the hot and the cold for this type of tiers, and I will also have an option to enable large files. Anything I need to know more about, I just narrow this mouse or put the mouse over the I information. It will tell me what does it mean. So here, enable large files when I have support to maximum of 100 terabytes large files. If I have large files, I would select that. I will not now. If I have to connect it with any networks, with public networks, data protection is something we need to know about because it's important. Enable soft delete, which means that the operations of deletion would be kept to be undone for 7 days. I can increase this duration as much as I want. So if I have deleted a file, this file stay retained in a place that I can retrieve them. Okay, so I can retrieve these files. Also, the soft delete also can be retained as if you here. Put the mouse here, set the number of days a block marked for deletion persists until it's permanently deleted. This is for 7 days. Here is also set the number of days that container marked for deletion persists. Then here we have the blob files will be retained for 7 days. The containers would be kept also for 7 days. If I have deleted them and I found that I deleted any of them by mistakes. And here also for the file shares, even I have 7 days. You can manage these, you can control these and change the values of these files. So these configuration are for data retention or data protection. If you have deleted anything, you still have 7 days to retrieve it back or to undo what you have deleted. Okay? Encryption, everything is encrypted within the transfer and the storage. The encryption is a way of protecting data from not being read. It has different methodologies, it has different ways, but it is very powerful to encrypt the data. You can use the Microsoft encryption, and even if you have your own third-party encryption software, you can use it. I will press on review. And create. It is taking a bit of time. This is because, okay, it is now ready. I now can go to the resource. So here I can do all the operations that I want. As you can see here, we have different things we can do. I can create containers, read containers, update containers, delete containers. Also, I can do that with file shares, with queues, and with tables. Okay, I will give you an example, a quick example. I will create a container. I will call it test container. Shouldn't have spaces. Okay, I will leave it as it is. You need to use the encryption. You have a lot and a lot to do with that. This is how I will create the storage. Now I have created a storage. This storage, I will press on that storage. I can update files to it, upload files to it. I will upload anything from my computer. Here is the file I will upload. Now I have this file. I can take and see what I can do with that. I can view, I can download, I can generate an SAS, which is a protection for this file that cannot be, that does not allow others to read it. I will press here and I will show you something. Okay, this is the URL of the file. I can copy it and Control V. Okay, this is the file I have. Because it is protected, you can see it. I can allow others to see this file, but at least it's now on the internet. During the protection, during the labs, you will see how to allow others to see your container and your files within that. It could be done from here. You will do that on your examples or on your labs. Okay, so Abdul Hakim, did I answer your question? Okay, that's good. Now, let me get back to the presentation again. Go with the identity. Identity is the place where I can view the users, create the users that will be accessing my tenants. One important thing is that I should differentiate between something called authentication and authorization. Do you know the difference between authentication and authorization? Do you have an idea about the difference between authorization and authentication? Authentication, to authenticate who are you? It means that your username and password. That's correct. Authorization, now the term authorization. Okay, the authorization, what is what you can do? Excellent. This is the excellent answer. Then authorization and authentication. Authentication is your username and password, and any kind of authentication can be used. We have what is called multi-factor authentication that is supported within Azure. It can make your account more powerful, more secure, and we have the authorization where I can control what this user can do. Let's go to see that on practice better than just slides. I would go to, again, to the portal, and where I can do that, when I go home, and all that is being used within Azure Entra. It was called Azure Active Directory, but now it is Entra, Entra ID. Before now, it was called Azure Active Directory, but now it is called Entra ID. From Entra ID, I can manage the users, the groups, the identities, internal identities and external identities. I can set the roles for the users, what they can do and what they can't. I can also create administrative units like groups for administrations. I can delegate admin partners if I have partners coming from outside or from inside my environment. I give them the delegation to be a partner for a certain time to perform some certain actions or activities. All this is being done from this uh, from this page. I can go to the users. I can see all my users, edit my users, create a new users, create what is called bulk users. I can do everything from this environment here. As you can see here, I have different users. I have also each of these users belong to the tenant, which is called KH training. If I need to know any information about any of the users, I just press on this user. As an administrator, I can do lots of things for my users. I can delete the user, edit the properties, and reset the password in case the user lost his password or forgot his password. I can apply or assign roles to this specific user or to specific groups. Okay, I can control everything within this environment, which allows me to do whatever I want related or regarding to the users. Here is the user that is called Ammar. I would go to the users again. I will add a new user or add a new group, or I can do this, create a new user or send an invitation to an external user to join my tenant. I can create a new user and I can also invite an external user. All I need to do here is to create a new user. Let's do it together. Principal name, I will call it user 15 or no, student 15. Don't know if I have this. I don't have. Okay. Display name would be student 15. I can have any name that I want. I would generate automatic password, and I should give this password to the user, send it to him in order to log in the first time using this username and password. It would be student 15 auto-generate password, or I can assign a password that I want to add to the user in order to send it to him again. Send it to him. Here I would say generate password, auto-generate password. Okay. Properties, I can set the first name or information about the user. I can add it to a group, or I can add it to a category, to a department, whatever I want. Assignments, I can add assignments or roles to this user. Here are the roles that I can give to the user. As you can see here, we have tons of roles: application administrator, application developer. I just don't give the role of a global admin to anyone, because the global admin is you as the administrator of this tenant. You can do everything. So if I need to have a helping hand, I just give this helping hand the proper roles. I don't give full roles in order to avoid any mistakes, maybe intended or non-intended. So I select the role that I want to give to the user. I just select this, and I would press on select, and the role would be added to this user. Now I can just review and create. I would press on create, and the user would be created. Okay, let's get back to the users and check on user 15. It might need a minute to appear. On the last Saturday of this month, we will be delivering a course related to SC900, which dives much deeper than this, related to security and governance. Okay, if you like to register on that, just do that, and you will be gaining a lot of information related to administration and to such things. Let's get back to the groups. When I need to create a group, I have different types of groups. Let me show you. We have 365 groups and security groups. We always choose security group unless we are implementing something with Office 365. But for now, we are using security group. The group name would call it test group. I will not create it. I will just show it to you. Here is something very interesting, which is the type of group, okay, which is we have an assign, and we have another type which is called dynamic. It needs a P1 registration to create dynamic groups. What does dynamic groups do? Dynamic groups do it adds users to groups based on some criteria you define by the properties, which means that if I have created a user, here we'll press on create. That's all we do. Let's get back here to explain the dynamic groups. Here in my users, if I set, let's say, one of the user is working in the department IT, or the IT department, let's say here. This is Ammar. I go to the properties. I edit them. And I will see that if I put Ammar here, let's say Ammar is in department IT. Okay, this is I save for Ammar. When I create a dynamic group, I set a rule on the creation saying that if the user department field equals to IT, put this user in the group IT. So it automatically when you create bulk users, setting a lot of information, you have tens or hundreds of users, you create a CSV file that you add bulk users. You do not go ahead and start adding them one by one. So in this CSV file, let me show you. There is a bulk operation. Let me say bulk creation. just want to show you the CSV file. This is the CSV file. All you need to have to do is to, okay, select the field that you want to add. Here we have 5 required fields. It ends here. Other fields are optional, okay, like country, like any of these. If you add the department here, let's remove all these until here. Remove these and remove everything else. Okay, so here when you start adding users, you will be starting like, let's say, Ahmed, comma. When you put the comma, it means that you are moving to the next field, which is the username. It would be Ahmed at khtraining dot on Microsoft dot com. Blah 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 until you reach the department, which is, let's say, IT. Okay, you add 10, 100,000, whatever, you fill all these information and create the users. Okay, and when you create the groups, you create dynamic groups with a rule to put each of the user in its own group. I have a group for IT, I have a group for development, I have a group for designers. So when I create the group in Azure and I select dynamic group, I have a place to put a rule. It is very simple. It says that if department equals IT, add to group IT. Very simple. It's like the SQL commands. It is human read. It's very easy to do. This is just an overview of this. Okay, let me get back here and get back to Microsoft Entra. As you see here, we can control the licenses that we have. If we have licenses, I want to assign licenses or add the new licenses to my tenant. I do it from here, like the P1 I told you about, because we have different types of subscriptions. Some features are given for trial for free for a month, but I already used the P1 for trial, so I can't reuse it again. So as you can see here, this is the enterprise, sorry, and mobility. This is, I can press on try and press on the free trial. If I press on activate, it will not allow me because I already tried that. You have already activated this before. What differs is the features that I can have when I use or update to the E5 or P1 or P2. One of these features is creating dynamic groups, okay? Other features like multi-factor authentication, all these are available, but with different subscription types, okay? This is the Entra, or is we have been talking about authentication authorization, multi-factor authentication. What is multi-factor authentication? Any of you have an idea about multi-factor authentication? And in quick words, multi-factor authentication enforce me to use more than one factor, more than a password. More than a password. You would need 2 factors or more to authenticate. So you would use your password, then you would receive a confirmation maybe on your phone. Maybe you have another way by email, by a text message, whatever. So multi-factor authentication makes sure that you are the one who is accessing by using your own password and sending a message to your own mobile phone. We have an application which is called Microsoft Authentication. You can use it, and I advise you to start using multi-factor authentication in any application you are using because it is very important. We have kind of accounts that is called business to business accounts. We can create them so we can collaborate with users coming from other tenants, and we can add them as guests and give them some privileges to work with us. Okay, Azure Active Directory business to client. This is business to client when you add users, individual users to your tenant in order to give them access to a service that you have on your account. You can control these users individually, and you can also control their devices. Just give me 1 minute, please. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm really sorry. Excuse me. Okay, so one important feature also we need to talk about is the conditional access. Condition means that if access, which means that sometimes I might need to set rules in order to allow or disallow access to my tenant. Maybe I would set the rule on IP locations or usernames or IP ranges or device types or application types or at any risk detection. What do I mean by that? Imagine that I have an application that is serving uh, for public, like any application, and I'm sure that some of you have faced that with, let's say, with Google. Sometimes you try to access your Google account or Outlook account from a new device. This would be called what we call it an risk detection. So in order to make sure that you are the person, there are some procedures should be followed, like using multi-factor authentication, like relogging in, like any access or authentication or confirmation methods that you need to apply in order to make sure that the user who is trying to log in is the correct user. One important example I will give you that occurred with me, that one night I used my credit card to purchase something from a website. Okay, directly after maybe 10 minutes, I started receiving messages that my credit card is being used once in USA, once in Germany, once in Russia. So there was a trying to hack my own credit card. But because I have activated multi-factor authentication, even on the purchase of anything, I was receiving these messages and I was declining all the purchases. This is one example. This happens also with your Google account. If you are accessing anything within Gmail or even within Outlook. So this is the conditional access. It is conditioned or ruled by a condition. If this rule is not applied, so it will not allow the access. Conditional access, you can add it to your environment, but it is a P1 tier service. You need to have a P1 service to add it. See, if you can see here this diagram, this is a user and location. It's trying to access. Since it is allowed, it will be, sorry, if this user is coming from a normal location or non-location and the device is normal or everything is good, it will be allowed to access. Sometimes it feels something like weird. It will ask for additional multi-factor authentication and it makes sure that you are the person and it allows you to access. Sometimes when you have real risk or coming from suspicious IP locations that are listed or it has something like risk detection, like malware or other things that are considered risks, it will not allow you to access. It will take you to another place in order to just reuse or reset your password and use another password. Role-based access, this is what I showed you. You can give a role to any of the users or even to any of the groups that you have. Zero trust means that everything is not trusted. Back on the days around 10 or 15 years ago, the threats that were coming from the outside were only considered the threats, like attacks from outside your network. But now, even inside our internal network, everything is considered a threat. So applying this zero trust model, this is called zero trust model, makes our environment secure for the internal and the external requests coming from the network. This is also related, all these are related to security, but as you can see here, these are the levels of defense. As you can see here, the physical security, which means the doors, the alarms, whatever. We have the identity is the access, authentication, the perimeter, which is the devices before the network, like the firewalls, whatever. Then the network, when you are accessing the network, this is very close to your computing, application, and data. So this is the defense on depth. We apply defense on each of these levels: the physical security, the identity, the perimeter, the network, the compute, and the application and the data. Some of these are physical instruments. Some of these are applications used for security, and encryption is one of the security principles that we use. One important service from Microsoft is the Microsoft Defender. It includes a lot of things and it gives advices on how to control our environment. Let me show you the Defender. Okay, I will press on the Defender, Microsoft. I will press just Defender. Okay, as you can see here, we have Defender for cloud and Defender for IoT, which is for internet devices on the internet. We have Defender for endpoints, for SQL. So Microsoft Defender, of course, you all have it on your Windows machines, and you can see how this it's free in some levels, but in some levels you would have to buy licenses to get more secure. Let me go to the Defender for Cloud and show you how does it work briefly. Okay, go ahead. As you can see here, it will open now, but on the left side here we have the recommendations. It recommends for us what should we do. It gives us some steps to perform in order to get the best defender or defending options for our environment. As you can see here, we have the paths analysis, we have security alerts, and we have the firewall manager. And I would go with something, just let it open. I want to show you something very important. Like it's taking forever. Okay, as you can see here, we have the subscription we are dealing with. We have security posture because I don't have any things created, but it will show you security alerts also, as you can see here. Okay. I would go to also with the security. I want to show you something here. We have, this is what I was talking about, this conditional access. We have also security center. Just let's wait until it opens. Here we can control the conditional access, create the rules. And we have the security center. Okay, this is the security center. It's stating that we have highly severe thing that is, there should be more than one owner assigned. This is the problem or the security threat it is giving us, and it is here recommending the steps, what we should do. As you can see here, here they are the steps in order to solve any problem. As you can see, everything is so clear related to security. It shows you the threats, the level of threat, and the solution of that threat. One more thing, one more important thing I need to show you is the security score. This is a score that shows how secure you are. In order to improve your security score, okay, you would need to perform these, and this will increase your security score. Okay, so before I move to the last module, which is a very easy and practical one, let me just wait if you have any further questions. Any questions from your side before I jump into the conclusion? I have one more thing I need to Okay, so no questions, guys, before I move to the. Okay, I'm waiting because someone is typing. Okay, Abdul Hakim, nothing from my side. Anybody has anything to say? So drop it on the on the chat while I pass through this. I wish everything is good. You're talking, I'm taking this very seriously. I want you to be fully understanding what I'm explaining. Do not hesitate to ask anything. Don't be shy. I'm here to help you and make you understand everything I'm saying. Okay? Here are some things that are very easy. Just I will explain them very fast before I give you the last break, and then we jump into the labs. So cost management is very important. I have talked about that a lot during the discussions or the explanation. We need to know the factors that affect the cost, the resource type, the consumption, and the maintenance. These are factors that are very affecting the cost because, as you know, when you are moving to cloud services, there are many challenges, and many people would say that no, moving to the cloud is very expensive. No, don't go do this or do that. Many people are scared, and this is because they do not know how to manage their resources. And during this lesson, you will see something about what I'm talking that is a very, it's much more uh, costing. Uh, let me say that it costs much less than having a real environment when it comes to large or medium-sized companies. If you are just a beginner or just a small company, it might be challenging to get the best. But when you are using mid and above, it is 100% sure that using the sorry, using the cloud services is the most efficient way. So the resource types, the resource places, I told you that. Where are they held? How are they are being used? Am I taking good care of my usage? When I don't use any of the devices, or the resources, I just remove it. When I'm not using it, I just stop it. When I am doing anything related to maintenance, I just maintain my devices, maintain my users. I just don't keep things that I am not using. The golden rule is whenever you do not need any resource, just delete it. We have explained, and I have created a resource on my environment or multiple resources, and maybe I don't need them. Let's say I don't need all these that are on UDST. So I just remove the resource group, and everything within that resource group will be deleted. I here get into this resource group, and it now will show the components that are within this resource group. Okay, as you can see, we have a blob, we have a lot of things that are in this. This is the storage account. Okay, I don't need the storage account. I would delete it. My mistake. Okay, all I need to do is confirm the deletion, enter the storage account name. Where is the storage account name? This is the name. I copy it from here and paste it there. And I press on delete. Confirm and delete. Okay, it will be starting to delete. Okay, so deleting the unnecessary resources is very important to do. We have the Azure Marketplace. You can go to the Marketplace and see that you have lots of things that you can purchase from there. This is what I was talking about, the pricing calculator. You will be performing about a lab about the pricing calculator. It is very easy. All you need to do is to know what devices you are going to select from here, how many devices, how many hours that you are going to run these devices, and after you finish that, you will get an assumption on how much these resources are going to cost you. We'll be seeing that during the labs. Okay, and here is what I was talking about, the total cost of ownership. Here is an example of a company that has this environment. This company costs 30,700,000 blah 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 amount per year. When it was moved to the cloud, it is costing 500,000, or maybe let's say around 600,000. Why? Because it was paying too much for the data centers. While on Azure, the data centers cost and management and whatever. Go to Google and press Azure calculator. You will find it. Let me show it to you. 1 second. I would go to the portal again and press here on Azure calculator. As you can see, you are most welcome. Just wait until the labs come. Be patient with me. Let me finish these slides. And when we start with the labs, you will have the pricing calculator and you will be performing a lab on there. Don't worry about that, okay? So this is the cost management, as we said. We take good care of that. The tags, I explained that before, it's just like a tag you put on your resources. Okay, Azure policy is something that we use to enforce a policy, which means that if I don't want to allow users to create resources in a specific region, if I do not want to allow users to delete something, if I do not want, it is a policy. All I need to do is to create this policy. How do I create policies? It's very simple. I will show you that. And this is the Azure. I will go with policy. As you can see here, this is the policy. Okay, here I get the definitions of the policies. As you can see, as you will see, I hope you will see. Just give it a minute to load. As you can see here, we can create a policy and apply it on. Okay, this is the policy. Okay, this is the policy definition that I want. I can select different policies. Okay, this is on the MSDN platform. Okay, I selected that. It would be applied here. What is the name of this policy? Policy 1. Create a new. Okay, I can import from definitions that are already available, or I can create my own policy using JSON files. Okay, or I can take these policies from another source. We have different sources for that. Okay, this is one thing. I will show you another thing in policies. Okay, we have here, I don't have any policies, so everything is compliant 100% because I didn't create any policies. Here are the assignments where I create also a new assignment. The exemptions are the devices or users or resources that I want to exempt from this policy. I just add them to the exemption list. Okay, assign a policy. Here I press on the policy. Where is it? Assign. If I want, I can apply this policy to a certain resource group. Let's say I want to assign it only to UDST, which I'm created today. Okay. Did I delete it? I don't know. I don't remember. I would keep it on the whole policy definition. I would select the definition. Let's say I do not want to allow creation of something. Let's type allow and see the results. Let's not just waste time. I will wait for it. Let me finish all these in order to make sure that. Okay, we have what is called resource lock. I will show it to you. It locks the resource not to be deleted or to be read only. I have a resource group. I don't want anyone to delete it. I have a storage. I don't want anyone to delete it. I just create a lock over that resource. Okay, I will go ahead and show that to you in a second. Okay, let's go. Let's see if things got better here. Not yet. You will do that in your labs. I'm trying to just give you enough time for the labs to be with you. Okay, let's say that we have this resource, which is a virtual machine. And I want to enable lock on it. We have the lock. Guys, any of you have or has logged into Azure? Do you have in any way, or by the way, any log to Azure? Any of you has already access to Azure or not yet? Okay. I wanted to try from your side if it is slow. Now, okay, I have the logs. I will create a log. I will call it delete log. I don't want it to be deleted. I would say delete. Okay, and here now, this is the VM1. I created the log on it. Let me go ahead and go to this overview to this device and try to delete it. I have read and I would say delete. It's failing to delete because it has a lock. Okay. Now let's head back again here to see if there's something missing. all these portal. Okay, I will show you how do we use the templates. Let me show you that because it is important. Sometimes you might need to create resources like a virtual machine, like any devices. You can use the PowerShell or the portal by logging into Azure PowerShell or the Windows PowerShell and connect your Windows to your Azure. Let me show you an example of that, and we'll go to Azure portal. This is the Azure portal. Here we have what I told you before now, that we have the Cloud Shell. We can access it from here. Okay, and we start using some of the commands supported. You will see some of these commands. You will also be using the CMD in Windows to connect to Azure, but before you can connect to Azure, you would need to install a model. You'll see that on the lab step by step, and how you are going to do that. Okay, now one last thing I want to explain to you is that we can create, we can create resources by using text commands or files, or we call them templates, in order to create these resources. Of course, you will not be able to write these templates because they are complicated. They use JSON files or Bicep or whatever languages, but you can still use some of the features that are here in order to use these or to create these uh, templates or create these resources. Now, let me do something, one final thing. I need you to have a break for 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes, and then we start initiating the labs and guide you through how to perform these labs. If you have any questions, please let me know. And please, you still have one thing, please. One thing I need you to do is to fill this survey during the break. Okay, policies. Take your break now.